the feeling for real this time. Finding your light from inside.
Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Tracy Barbee, the owner of Fountain of Hope Counseling Center. How are you today, Tracy?
I am well, thank you for asking. Yes. I'm excited to be here on my podcast.
Right, getting interviewed on your podcast.
On my podcast.
Yes.
I can interview myself. So.
Right.
So
well,
thank
God I'm here, right?
Yes.
So, Tracy is a licensed marriage and family therapist and has been rated one of the top best therapists in the city of Chesapeake in 2023 and 2024 by Excellence of Best Top 3. She is certified as an ADHD specialist, integrative medicine provider, neuro-linguistic programmer, hypnotherapist, Reiki practitioner, and touch for therapy practitioner. So tell us a little bit about how you integrate all of this into therapy.
You just said a mouthful. When somebody's saying something about yourself, and you're like, I am all of those, right?
Yes.
When I started getting my license as a licensed marriage and family therapist, I just knew what the school gave me, the books and all of that. And I was like, I got to know this. I got to know solution-focused therapy. I have to know CBT. I have to know Bowen's therapy. So all of these different therapies I needed to know. And the techniques and all of that. And so what I've come to learn is the basis of what forms me as a licensed marriage and family therapist. This systematic approach, one impacts the other. And so if you're in a relationship and you come in by yourself as an individual, well, all of those people in your life impact you. It impacts your decision. It impacts how you do things. And so I'm always aware that things impact other people. People impact other people.
Right.
And so from a systematic approach, I have to utilize that, and I have to keep that in the forefront of my mind. But also realize, too, that the way I am growing individually, holistic for me, I can't offer that to myself and not offer it to my client. And so that changed my life when I started understanding my body, when I understood herbs and how they helped my body. Then I got certified as an integrative medicine provider because I didn't want medication in my system.
Right.
And not that I don't believe in medication, because I send people to go and get medication for certain things and all of that other stuff. But for those who want to say, I don't want to be on medication. Then as a therapist, I had to help, and I had to inform, and I had to learn ways, and I had to utilize those things for myself. So then I began to understand like energy and how everything is energy. People have energy in them. If I ran across this carpet and I shocked you, that means I have energy in me. That means that you have energy. So then I understood Reiki and the energy in that healing and all of those things. So my holistic approach, I began that journey when I began to try to heal myself. So that helped. And so integrating all of it is a beautiful thing.
It is beautiful. It is. And really therapy, what we're taught in school are kind of the building blocks or maybe the foundation of where we go, but then you have to add the siding and you have to add the windows and you got to put the door in. And so really it sounds like all of this has just supported that journey of therapy and maybe even served as some therapy for yourself as well.
It did.
Yeah.
I mean, because I believe in therapy. Have my own therapist, would go to my own therapist, and we would talk and discuss issues and things like that. So I believe in therapy. So I think everybody should have a therapist.
Yes.
Even when you say I'm good, people just come in just to maintenance. Like when you go and get your car checked out. People come in and just say, I just want to make sure I'm good.
Right.
So
get the oil change, rotate the tires a little bit.
Exactly.
And so you touched briefly on how you integrate this with individuals. Does that look different for you when it's couples or families that are sitting in on the session?
Does it look different? Each person is there coming in with different issues. And sometimes it all sounds the same. But everybody has their own goals, their own treatment, quote unquote, plan.
Right.
So yes, it's going to look different. Some of the approaches that I use might not be good for someone else.
Yeah.
Right? And so it looks totally different.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I see therapy as fun. I come to work. Some people might not enjoy their job.
Right.
But coming to work, for me, I don't see it as work. I don't look at, oh gosh, when I get home, I got to rest from work. I look at it and say, I enjoy my entire day.
Good.
Seeing lives change, seeing light bulbs turn on for people, that is exciting for me.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And so there's these big words in here like neuro-linguistic programmer or hypnotherapy that maybe some people might feel a little intimidated by. So how do you incorporate that into therapy with your individuals, couples, and families?
Well, the neuro-linguistics programmer, we look at that. There's behaviors, there's patterns, there's language and conversations that we use all the time that sometimes we don't realize that keeps us stuck. And so helping people see that and reprogramming how they see things, helping them see that with a lot of different techniques. And so like anchoring is a technique when it comes to neuro-linguistics programming. And with anchoring, it's like procrastination. I can anchor you to feel motivated versus procrastination. It's a technique that we use.
Right.
And you can say, oh, is that hypnotherapy? Is that hypnotizing? When people think about hypnotizing, hypnotherapy, they think, oh, I'm not going to know what's happening to me.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
You're always conscious.
Right.
We watch too much TV and the drama and all of that. People don't realize that, yes, you can get hypnotized in that way. I can do that to help you lose weight or any of those things. Stop smoking, those type of things, right? Trigger words that can help you when that comes to that. But there's also so many other different things with NLP that you can do. And one of my favorites is the timeline therapy, which is a part of that. You know that.
Yes.
And so it's great to help people tap into their subconscious. And when tapping into their subconscious, they can find those things that keep them stuck.
Right.
And bring them forward and help them move forward in life.
Yeah. And I think the big fear or worry about hypnotherapy or hypnosis is feeling as if you're out of control or someone else is taking control, but really you utilize it in a way where that person is taking control of their own life and making their own decisions rather than being so unconscious with all of the influences from the outside world.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, even with that, you have to be conscious and aware of what's happening. Even with hypnotherapy, people don't realize that you are conscious, even with guided meditation.
Yeah.
Guided meditation is a form of hypnosis.
Right.
And so you're conscious and aware of it. You're just allowing yourself to just be a little bit more comfortable with it. I don't really do anything that people are not aware of. You know, I want you to be aware of what's happening. I want you to be aware of the changes that are happening in your life. You know? You need to be conscious of those things, of those changes.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the most common challenges you see in family therapy, couples therapy, and how do you address them using these techniques?
Communication is a big issue and what we believe. But let's go with ADHD. ADHD, there's 7 executive functionings that tend to be lower than your average person, right? So let's just say we're going with emotionally regulated. Some people with ADHD, that is a hard place for them to figure out in regulating their emotions.
Right.
And so how do I incorporate some of these alternative therapies in that? Well, Reiki is one. You can incorporate that because helping them to relax, even touch therapy, helping them to relax. And so relaxing them, helping them to see that, oh, wait a minute, breathe, so that you can help them with some of the other parts that are going on in their life. If I'm all over the place and I can't sit down, well, I need to, balance out that energy.
Yeah.
And so helping them balance that out with Reiki is a great way to do that. If I have a belief is just a thought, right? And so when you have a belief, if that belief is keeping you stuck in families, if you're married as a couple, and with NLP, if you have that belief that, oh, my wife should cook, my husband should take out the trash,
right?
That's a belief. Beliefs can be changed. And with NLP, we can help them kind of shift that.
Yeah.
If it's keeping them stuck and seeing how it's keeping them stuck.
Right.
So using those to help people communicate, resolve conflict are great ways to use alternative therapies. And as you know, I don't like, what's the word I would say? Band-Aids, right? So when people say, go for a walk, those are all good things.
Right.
Have you tried exercising? Yes, those are all good things. They lower stuff down. But when things come up at night and you can't stop the thoughts, can't get up and go for a walk.
Right.
And so how did we get here? We're stuck. And so changing the thought patterns using NLP,
right.
Changing some of the behaviors, helping them change those things. They don't have to get up and go for a walk.
Right.
They could be comfortable anchoring, helping them anchor themselves.
Yeah.
Going back and saying on their timeline, when did anxiety come into my life? I'm about, let's just pull up the root, and not put a Band-Aid on it, not just cut the stems off,
right.
the leaves, but let's pull up the root to get to the issue, so that we don't have to deal with it. Because we're made to be whole, mind, body, and soul.
Right.
Right?
Right. And do you find that clients have any resistance to going as deep as the root rather than putting on the Band-Aid and hoping for, well, I was hoping you would give me a technique that I could walk out of here today with, and now I feel like, oh, I got to go home and think. Like, do you find that there's resistance in clients?
Yes. People say they want to change, but when they get in and they see what it's, the work that they have to put in it, and I say, is it work? Well, you go to work every day, you put in 40 hours,
right.
You work hard at somebody else's job, and you won't work hard at what you need to do for yourself, right?
Right.
What's hard is we're comfortable where we are, and we say we're not, but we are. So resistance, yes. With clients that I've been seeing, if they're resistant to the change, then I'm not doing them any service. And so those clients are just like, come back when you're actually ready. I don't want them to feel pressured.
Right.
And so I want them to come when they're actually really ready. Because if they're sitting with someone who's going to actually say, okay, where do you want to go from here? And how do we get there? When you and I are talking, you would say, sometimes we don't really care about the why. We want to know the why, but that's not where we are, the why. Does the why really matter? Why am I like this? Because my mom didn't give me my little red wagon. Why am I like this? My dad wasn't in my life. Okay, now what? Now that I know the why, now what? And so you might say, I want to know the what. And my question is, I don't even really want to know the what. I want to know how. How did you get here?
Right.
Because if you don't know how you got somewhere, you're going to keep going back there.
Right. Right.
If I don't know how I got to my job, if I don't know how I'm driving a certain way, how I'm thinking, if I don't know that, then I'm going to stay stuck.
Right.
And so when you ask about resistance, some people are resistant to wanting to know the how.
Yeah.
Yeah. but it's not a scary thing.
Right.
Because once you know the how, you can be like, oh, I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think there's been times that we've all been kind of stuck in that loop of like, how did I even get here? Wait a second.
Yeah.
So, but I think the thing that's so profound about you, and even in my experience of you working with you, is how you embody change. Like even just in, I think I'm coming up on 2 years now at Fountain of Hope, and in 2 years I have seen the practice change and shift and transform, and your approach, and all the time I'm coming back, and you're like, yep, I'm taking these classes, I'm getting this certification, and so it really is a testament to how you embrace this for yourself, and you're not even just like preaching to the choir and saying you do it, but I do it too, and I'm alongside you in the journey.
Yeah. I don't believe in giving someone something that I'm not willing to take myself, right? And so I'm always like reading. I love to read. Listening to different people. The people that I hang around, they have to be in that same space. You have to look at it and say, who am I hanging around?
Right.
Who's in my circle? Are they looking for change within themselves? And no one's saying every single day, look for a change. What's going on? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? You know? Then you can always see something wrong with you.
Right.
But growth doesn't have to look at what's wrong with me. I'm growing just sitting here with you right now.
Right, absolutely.
You know? And so,
yeah.
When I say, like, I text one of my friends this morning, and I said, okay, you got to do something fun with me. And she said, what? And I said, bungee workout. And she said, what? I was like, we got to do some bungee workout. And then I sent her where it is and where we got to go. And she said, oh, I pass that all the time, and I kept saying I need to go there. She said, look at the universe just putting that together. And I was like, it is. And so with that being said, I'm not talking about just growth in, let me read something, let me do some alternative therapy. I'm talking about let's experience something new, something different. And every week I want to experience something new, something different. Right. Because something new, something different is happening every single day, every moment.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So you can go bungee jumping with us. Bungee workout with us.
I will be there. So, and even with that, I think there's also that idea of like, I'm not a human doing, but I'm a human being. And so how do I, instead of putting the Band-Aids on and doing, which is going for a walk or taking a nap or sitting down and even meditating, right, is sometimes a doing practice. But how do I just be in the world? And how do I engage with the world in a way that's healthier? How do I think in a way that's healthier? And how do I challenge myself to constantly transform so that I don't get stuck in the same pattern? Because there are people who drive to work the same way every morning. Yeah.
I'm going to go a different route. It's like, this is the routine. I'm comfortable with that. Yeah. How do I do that for myself? Again, I make sure people are around me. I was always told that you have to have people that mentor you. So people above you. Right. And then you have to have people that are on your same level so that you can dialogue with. And then you have to have those people that you're mentoring.
Absolutely.
And so if you have that, it's going to keep you in a space where you're always growing. Yeah. You know?
Absolutely.
And so if you don't have that in your life, then you're out here alone. Right. I have people in my life who challenge me, people who send me stuff. Read this, read that. Did you look at this? Let's go here. I sent something to someone. I was like, I'm going on a retreat, Arizona. You want to go? Yeah. And it that being. Right. I want to go because I've never been to Arizona. But to be in the mountains and to feel the air and the energy that's there that you hear talking about. I'm not going there to be like, oh, I got to go and get healed and heal myself. Right. I just want to be in the space. That's just being. Right. You know?
Absolutely.
Always being aware of what's going on around you, all the sounds, your taste buds, just being aware, changing that up. No, I can't eat that. Yeah. change is a great thing. Change helps you grow. One of my teachers have said to me, Tracy, when there's a problem, problems create challenges. Challenges creates opportunities. So I'm always looking for the opportunity to grow. Without the problem,
Right.
then I won't be challenged.
Absolutely.
And without the challenge, I won't have the opportunity to grow. And so that's one of the things I'm always trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Grow.
Absolutely. And so in therapy, as a therapist, and when you're using these techniques like the neuro-linguistic programming or the hypnotherapy, the Reiki, what are the outcomes that you have observed in clients?
Well, you know, you've sat in with me, years of experience. So people are just amazed at what they find, what they see. The outcome, people have been set free from anxiety, from anger, people limiting beliefs like I'm not good enough. Some of these techniques, even if I'm not using alternative therapies, one of the things that I ask people when they first come into the into my office, their initial session, I'll say, if your mom was here, what would they say? Help you with what? You know? If your best friend was here, Tracy, help my friend with what? And then why do I ask that? I'll even go to, what would your children say? What would your partner say?
Wow.
The reason why, when they're not even in the room, because again, one impacts the other. And I want to know how other people see you. And sometimes people are shocked because they don't even realize, wait, these people see me this way? But they're having conversations and not even realizing how others see them. And so without even the alternative therapies, just knowing what I know in terms of my training.
Okay, so what are the specific tools or methods that you use to evaluate progress with couples and families in therapy?
The first tool is the client. You know,
Right.
I'll ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, where are they? Because I don't care what tool I use, that professional tool. If the client doesn't feel they have moved the needle, that doesn't matter. So the first tool is the thoughts of the client.
Yeah.
But I use other, like the GAD-7 and the anxiety tool to see where they are. A depression tool, those are some of the tools that I would use professionally to see where they are.
Absolutely.
And things like that. But also my intuition. I can sense, I can tap in, I know. I can't do have all these alternative therapies and not be able to tap in to see whether or not someone has moved or where they are. But the ultimate decision is the client's. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And have you ever had a client who was determining where on the scale they lie, and they're like, oh, you know what, today I am completely at ease, I'm a number 1 on the scale, no anxiety, and you're looking at them and your intuition is saying, I'm not sure. Have you ever had that?
Where somebody will say, oh, I'm good, there's nothing going on, but it's not congruent. Their facial expression does not say that. Their tone, I'm listening and I'm watching all of that. Yeah. And so, but if they're in that space, matter of fact, I had someone last week that came in and said, I'm good. I was like, no, you're not. I'm good. Miss Tracy, I'm good. Then next thing you know, all these tears started flowing. And so I'm looking for things where it's congruent. And if it's not congruent, then, you know, I'm looking at it and saying, they don't want to talk, and that's okay. They might not be in a space to talk, and be okay with that. Yeah. And that's something that I've noticed working with you, is you're never afraid to kind of test or push the boundary there. When it comes to the client, there's plenty of times where you're like, let's revisit that. Let's go deeper there, because I'm not sure that we fully got what we were trying to get from it. And so something I definitely admire, right, is that push, is this challenging that happens. That therapy is not
easy. It's not always, oh, I'm good, I'm coming in for that routine oil change, tire rotation. Like, I'm not always going to have that moment. Sometimes I'm going to come in, and I had one recently who came in and was like, I didn't even know that I was going to discuss this with you. And for me particularly, race becomes a big thing in therapy as well, where we serve a particular demographic that doesn't necessarily always look like me, and sometimes they want to have these race conversations, and even in that there's a hesitation. And so being able to push, being able to invite, I don't even know if I like challenge. I think invitation is a better word, because it's I can see that there is more to this that you're hiding and covering. So how do we get there, and how do you eventually navigate that with clients to get them to maybe let it surface and confront it?
I think the NLP training, it has taught me how to word things in a way that I can hear what someone is saying in the background, but then there's catchphrases too. And so it's just being trained in that.
Right. Yeah. And so while we're on this topic of race, how do you ensure that therapy is culturally sensitive for your clients, especially when you're integrating these non-traditional holistic treatments?
Well, culture competency, that's one of the things we have to do. We have to make sure we have, regardless, it doesn't matter what type of alternative therapies we practice or any of that other stuff. That's 101. That's basic 101. If you are out there trying to get your license as a therapist, that's a class that we take. You know, you have to do it. And then I have to have 20 hours every year just of continuing educational courses, and that's one of the courses that I take. And so diversity, being sensitive to everyone that walks into the room, whether what color, race, it doesn't matter, male or female, it doesn't matter. I don't see that when people walk in.
Right.
I don't see the color. But people see color. People will call and say, can I have a black therapist? You know, they experience that. But then there's people who come in and they don't care.
Right.
And you and I have discussed it, where someone came in and they were black, but they had issues with white people. But they're comfortable talking to you. And I think when you are in tune with yourself, then that allows people to join with you and allow them to let their hair down and just say whatever they want to say. So the truth is, it's really the therapist and how the therapist joins with that client. It's like a doctor. You don't want everybody to be your doctor.
Right.
You know? You don't want everyone to be your OBGYN. You don't want everybody in your mouth being your dentist either. So with a therapist, you don't want everybody messing around in your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if I had to have surgery, I would make sure my physician knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
No different than if it's a mental health issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
That doesn't have anything to do with alternative therapists. It just has everything to do with the competency of the therapist.
Yeah.
And making sure they're sensitive to their clients, all of them.
Right.
From children on up to the oldest adult that they may have.
Yeah, and you find it a lot of times where, or at least me, there is a sensitivity a lot of times with every client. Like I would tend to think, oh, I would gravitate towards this or I would gravitate towards that. And then I had my first 70-something-year-old client and I was like, wow, I am just in awe of that, and like in awe of the fact that they let me be there and be present with them and walk through that journey. And so there's always this like even honoring of the client as well for the trust that they give us, and even the consistency. I think all the time, like, wow, you really come see me every 2 weeks. And the ones who are really consistent, you're like, wow, you can just feel the trust in that relationship and the the joining in it, and it's sometimes it's like, wow, I have some clients who are like, I could be your friend outside of here, and I'm like, yeah, I really appreciate that. So I love it when it feels like that. So what do you do, or what advice would you give to new therapists entering the field to kind of, navigate these challenges?
Well, the first thing that I would give is, matter of fact, I had someone I was talking to the other day, and she said, yes, I'm trying to help therapists who've been in it for a long time understand what's really clinical. And I was like, oh, okay. I've been just doing this a little 30 years, so
right.
What's clinical. But I love, and I said that I love the enthusiasm of new therapists coming in. But I would first advise them to sit down and listen to the wisdom of those that are in it, the trailblazers.
Right.
Listen to the wisdom of them. But at the same time, always be trying to grow yourself, not someone else. Don't concentrate on the client. If you're not growing, but you're sitting here trying to have the client grow, you'll find that client becomes a professional client. And that is not a good thing. I've had therapists, and I would hear them say, well, I'm not telling them my business because that's how we were trained. You never disclose anything about you with anyone. With any client, because they don't need to know you. And I'm like, no. I disclose because I have to heal. And they have to know that their therapist is on this journey, on their own journey, and learning and growing. And so I would say for new therapists coming in, make sure you stay on a journey, a personal growth journey.
Yeah.
Listen to the ones that are your trailblazers. I would say that. And when you're doing alternative therapies and you're incorporating them, don't try to do it all at one time. Find something that you can, like, oh yes, I can do timeline therapy, or I can do hypnosis. Do that. Become efficient in that. And then continue to add, but also know what's going on in your politics when it comes to therapy. You cannot just say this is all I'm going to do and ignore the other things that are happening within the field, because it's important.
It is.
And so bringing that balance, there's always a balance.
Absolutely. Yes. And so what would you recommend to new therapists when it comes to, okay, you're fresh in it, you're fresh out of school, you've just had maybe like 3 years of school and training directly, and someone supervising you, and so then you make this transition and you're out on your own, and it's kind of your own path to forge. How do you find new things? How do you find the classes? Where do you go?
Okay. I'm going to put this on you, Haley.
Okay.
What would you say as a supervisor, and I've supervised you, speaking to the audience, what would you say, how did I help you with that in terms of your question and forging your own way?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, there's always been an encouragement around just being Haley. And aligning with what feels true and what feels right for me, and challenging my resistance when there is. And so for me, I came into this with a dance background, and I was really interested, and still am, in dance movement therapy. And so I came into this already ready with my own path, and I already kind of had experienced this in school, where I would be writing papers about dance movement therapy, and they'd be like, I don't know if that would work for this 60-year-old client. I don't know how that's going to work for ADHD. I don't know how that's going to work for anxiety. And so for me, I already kind of had this like position that I was holding firm in, because I was like, no, I really believe in this, and I think that this is going to be the future of therapy. And we're seeing it now, even through what you're doing, this integration of the body with the mind, with the soul. We're not treating these things as, oh, I go to the doctor because I have high blood pressure, and then I come to my therapist because I have anxiety. Like, no, now we're here in therapy and we're saying, oh, you have high blood pressure. How does that relate to anxiety? Like, when you feel anxious, do you get that tension in your body? Do you feel it? Where do you feel it? And how, that goes into the tapping and all of the things that you do. And so for me as a resident, it's really been about just stay true to who you are. And stay true to your interests and look around you. I had someone recently who was like, I don't even know where I would go work. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can look out of this window and see 10 businesses and or even in the building. Go look and just step outside and look at what's available. So,
and speaking of the dance movement and therapy, and staying on your own path, that's the first thing I ask. What do you want to do? What do you want to do outside of, what do you want to do outside of Fountain of Hope? Right. Outside of any of that, what do you want to do? And he was like, dance movement. And so what did? We did a group.
Dance movement
group. And so I am all for it. Because I want to help you on your path. And a lot of people benefit from that.
Absolutely.
And so even with Kundalini Yoga, we offer Kundalini Yoga. And so it's helping people, mind, body, and soul. And so any therapist coming in, I want to help them with wherever they want to go. And if it's in a way that is going to help Fountain of Hope Counseling Center as well, I'm all here for it.
Good. Yes. I love it. Okay. So our final note is that the lovely Miss Tracy Barbee has created some beautiful journals, and we wanted to make sure that we got that out there for you all. A little bit of self-help or maybe even a supportive element to therapy. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yes. Let's see. In May, it was Mother's Day, and I gave everybody out some journals. And when I gave those journals out, I was like, wait a minute. I'm not going to give somebody else's journal out. I'm going to create a journal of my own. And so I created 2 journals, and I said I'm going to get it done in 30 days. And I got them done in 30 days. And once I got those journals done, they have inspiration in it. They have art in it. You can color and things like that, but it helps you track. And why did I do the journals in that way? I recall when I worked in social services, I was a supervisor in foster care, and we had to write everything down. And if you didn't write it, it didn't happen.
Wow.
And so I was writing children's lives that were in foster care down. And I looked at it and said, well, they said if you didn't write it, it didn't happen, so it didn't exist. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not writing my own life.
Right.
And I exist. So the importance of journaling is your life, you matter, you exist. So write down what's happening in your life. We can't recall all of the stuff that has happened. But if you have your journal, you can open it up and you can say, gosh, I existed. Just like those kids that I oversaw in foster care. They matter, they exist. And so pick up a journal. You can get one if you just call our office. You can get a journal, and they're here for you. And then also they will be on the website. So you can go to our website at fountainofhopecounselingcenter.com and get a journal.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Miss Tracy. It's been an honor to really, just be in your space as always. So thank you for all of your insight and beautiful thoughts.
Thank you for interviewing me.
Absolutely.
Journey of mine. I'll have to write that down. I'll have to journal this.
Yes, absolutely.
Growing and healing, embracing the feeling for real this time.